Hey guys, welcome back to Techno Hack. This is Parikshit here, back again with the new video. And as with the previous tutorial, we have completed Linux Essential series. And as said in the previous tutorial, that we will be going to start the networking in Linux series from the next tutorial onward. So this is about it. We are now going to start our networking in Linux series from this tutorial onwards, and we will be going to cover all the networking aspect in Linux as well as in general. Alright, so as we have completed our Linux Essential series, and in that series we have covered the networking topic as well, where I have shown you a couple of things like checking the IP address, assigning the IP address using several different commands like ipconfig and IP command. I have also shown you how we will assign the IP address automatically using a DHCP and wireless interfaces that we have covered there, right? So networking services and starting and stopping them, so these parts also we have covered, and we have also checked the interface communication by using our loopback address and the web connectivity checking by using a ping command. Okay, so these are the topics that we have covered. These are the basic topics. Okay, so that's why we have just covered these topics into our Linux Essential series. Okay, that was our networking session there, and from today onwards where we are going to start our networking Linux series as well. So in here what I will tell you guys is whatever the leftover things or whatever the deeper things are there into networking, so that we haven't covered in that topic, so few things that I will cover here, and then later we will move ahead to our main basic things that we are going to check in today's topic, which is our internet protocol. Okay, so what is IP, what is this IP addresses, and what is server, what is client, what is IP. Okay, so what are the different addresses, like what is subnet mask, what is gateway, broadcast address, DNS server. Okay, so these things that we will check. Okay, again there are a couple of things like what are the IP address ranges are there, and how we will provide it. Okay, so let's look at it. Alright, so first thing here is assigning the static IP address manually to the network file. So there is a file that is called as interfaces, which will be there inside your Kali Linux machine or any Linux machine. Okay, so let's just open it from the file system, and you have to go to the etc, and in there you have to go to network. Okay, so if you just search for the network, you will see it over here, network. Okay, double click on it, and then you will see interfaces file over here. So if you will double click it, it will show you this data over here. So you can see that auto lo, which is your loopback address, and interface lo, which is loopback, inet loopback. So they have given the loopback over here. So similarly here now we can give the interface details whichever we want, and we can assign the IP address here manually to our interface. But before that I will now show you what is the IP address that is assigned to my machine. So let's say ifconfig, and you can see the IP address assigned is 225.3. okay, 192.168.225.3. if we check it by using ipaddr command, you can see that the same IP address 192.168.225.3, which is assigned to ETH0 interface. So now I will take this interface, and now I will assign the multiple IP address to this interface, or it is like a status, it is like a static IP address that I'm going to assign by using the networking file. Okay, so by using this file we are going to do that. So similarly, how you can see here for the loopback address, the same way you have to type it for the interface which you want, and that is auto ETH0, that's what we want. And then we have to give like iface, which is interface ETH0, and then inet similarly just like that. And here we have to give static because we are giving a static IP address now. So then you have to type your address and the address we want to assign. So currently the address is 192.168.225.3, but I am now giving it as 7. So let's save this file. Okay, I just saved it, and now what we have to do is to reflect these changes, you have to restart the networking service. So let's say service networking restart. I will just restart it. Okay, let's wait for it to restart. Okay, the service is restarted. Now I will check the IP address once again. So now you can see that the interface is having two IP address. Okay, the one which was already there like a 225.3, and the now new one which we have given it the secondary IP address, so that is 225.7. So this is the way that you can assign a static IP address as well as another or you can say like a multiple IP address to one interface. Alright, so this is about it, and now the next thing is I want to show you how you will assign the DNS address manually by using a file, okay, in the Linux system. So you have to go to the etc and there you will find a folder called systemd, okay. So just scroll down here and you will see that. So here you can see systemd and double click on it, and here you will see the resolved.conf file, okay, resolved.conf. So double click on it and you will see there are a couple of lines are here. So while now you are assigning the DNS IP address, so you have to just remove the hash from here if it is there. Otherwise, if the DNS line doesn't exist, you can just type the DNS over here is equal to, and you can give your favorite DNS address, either 1.1.1 or it would be 8888. okay, you can also give 4444, which is the Google name server address. Okay, so that will resolve your IP address to the host or host to IP address. So all the things that will happen over there. So this way you can do the manual DNS assignment, okay, by using this resolved.conf file. Alright guys, so this is about it. This was the leftover things and detailed thing that I wanted to cover in the previous tutorial, but I could not because that was pretty much basic things that we have covered in our previous session. So this was the thing that I wanted to show in this tutorial, and we have completed that already. Yeah, so let's move ahead and I will show you what exactly we are going to look into in the today's networking topic. Alright, so there are a couple of basic terms that I wanted to cover here, like a server. So what is server exactly? So here in the image you can see that the image shows some racks here, that is our data center, and in the data center we have some racks, and in here you can see there are a couple of green boxes are there, right? Here it is, there it is, so multiple boxes are there. So these all boxes are the server, okay. So this server will be kept into these racks, and these racks will be there in the data center somewhere, and this server will run some software or something, and this server will have some hard disk space also, from where you will be actually accessing all the data from the internet. Alright, so you can see that server is just a computer system which is used to provide a service to computer. So in another word, practically it is like the data that will be there inside this server hard disk, so that will be provided to the client. And what is client? Client is nothing but your computer or laptop or your mobile device, okay, which is used to access the service or any data from the server. So then later the server will provide you this data via the internet, which is your ISP, and ISP is nothing but like whatever the service provider, whatever the internet service provider you are using, like Airtel, broadband, or Geo, or whatever, okay. So that particular ISP will be there, so that will take your request to the server, and then server will send back the data whatever you requested to the ISP, and then later ISP will provide you all the data that you requested to your mobile device and your laptop or whatever, okay. So this is how the communication will happen. So next is IP. So IP address is just like a unique address that is assigned to your machine, okay, to establish the connection between two computer or two network that you can see here. Alright, so you can see that IP address is separated by the dot operator, and it ranges from the 0 to 255. Okay, so IP address example is given over here, like a 192.168.1.2, so this way. And if the IP address is this, then the network address will be 192.168.1.0, because this is the class C type IP address. So I will show you the classes things later, but this is just an example that I'm showing here. So network will be like this, .0. And similarly the subnet mask means whatever the class the IP address belongs to, so according to that the subnet mask will be divided. Like if the class is C, this means that these three fields will be reserved for the network. So if these three fields are reserved for the network and this is for the host, so these three fields will have the 255.255.255.0. okay, that will be the subnet mask. Alright, And next is the gateway. So gateway is nothing but your router IP address. Okay, whatever the IP address is your router is having, that will be the gateway. Broadcast address is the address where if the address is assigned, so it will provide the service to all the pieces. Okay, so you can see the broadcast address is having 255 at the end, which is nothing but broadcast address, and the service will be broadcasted to all the PCs or entire system. So next is the DNS server, and the DNS server is nothing but the server that will help resolve the name to the IP and IP to the name or the host name. Okay, so basically this is the Google DNS server, and we always use this server, okay, while configuring your network. Alright guys, so that is about it. Having short amount of time over here, so we'll try to cover it as soon as possible. This is about the IP address ranges, and you can see that the IP address is classified into 5 types actually. Okay, so the types is like class A, class B, class C, and class D, and class E. So what class A means actually, as I have already told you that IP is ranges from 0 to 255. So from there the IP address is categorized into several classes. Okay, so their class A type will range from the 1 to 126. This means only the first field will be the network field. Okay, rest 3 fields will be host field, where you can give any other IP address or any host IP address, you can give it over here. The network field, so you can give any number from 1 to 126, and that will be categorized under the class A type IP address. Okay, so you can see there are a couple of things like when we want to add a client, so these 3 fields are used, and it can be added from 1 to 254. Okay, from the left side you can add it over here, like you can give it over here, and then here, and then here. So, alright guys, so this is about it about the class A type. And similarly next is class B type, which will then later range from the 128 to 191. But you might have noticed that 127 we haven't seen. So 127 is actually reserved for the loopback. So what is loopback is your Ethernet IP address, or your it is used to check the connectivity between your interface. So if I want to show you here practically, so let's say CMD, and I will ping to 127.0.0.1, and you can see I have to mention ping command over here. So you can see I'm getting a reply, so it is communication, so it is communicating with our interface, and you can see that the communication is happening properly. So you can give any IP address over here, like even if I give like a 127.20.20.20, I'm still getting a reply, because this entire network 127 network is reserved for the loopback. Alright, so yeah, next is the class B IP address type, so which will then later start from the 128 to 191. Alright, so class B will have 2 network fields. Alright, let me show you here. So class B will have a 2 network field, which will be this and this one. So the rest 2 fields will be reserved for the host, and this will be reserved for the network. So from 128 to 191 you can give any number over here. Okay, but this will be reserved, whatever the number that you are giving it over here, that will be reserved, and rest you can give it to the host whichever you will assign. Alright, so the next is class C type IP address, which will later then start from the 192 to 223. So these 3 fields will be reserved for the network, and in the last 4th field you can provide your IP address when you will assign this to particular host. But whatever the network address that you are giving it here in that particular range, that will be static for all the hosts that you will assign. So if, for example, if you can see here, the IP address what I have given here is 194.118.135.0, that will be our network address. And now when you will be assigning it to particular host, so the address will be like 194.118.135.2 or 3 or 4, something like that. One will be usually the IP address for your router, which will be your default gateway, and later you can assign any IP address like 2.3. so this is the way that it is classified. And the next we have is class D and class E type IP address, which we usually do not use because class D type IP addresses ranges from the 224 to 239, and it is actually reserved for the multipath multicast group, so we usually do not use that. And the class E type IP address that ranges from the 240 to 254, we haven't given a 255 because that is usually for the broadcast IP address. Alright, so this address is reserved for the future use or the research and development purpose, like whatever the research and development groups are there, they might be using these IP address types. Alright guys, so this is the last thing that I just wanted to cover. Here it is. So these are the ranges of the private IP address. Okay, ranges of the private IP addresses. And this is for the class A type IP address, and this is for the class B type IP address, and this is for the class C type IP address. So these are the private ranges which is used usually into the private organizations, any companies. Okay, so you can see this class A type IP address will have a network of 10, like 10.0.0.0, and later you can assign the numbers of hosts to this network. So usually they use this kind of private ranges into the private sector, okay, like any private organizations. Okay, and this is for the class B type, which will start from 172.16 till 172.31. so that will be the range for network range for the class B type IP address. And later here it is 192.168.0.0 till 192.168.255. so from 0 to 255 you can assign any number here, and that will be also the network address for class C type. And apart from this, whatever the IP addresses that are coming into the ranges, that all IP address are the public IP address, and usually that will be the IP address that ISP will provide to you. Okay, so you will have the private IP address and you will also have the public IP address. So like if I go ahead and search here, like what is my IP, so you can visit here any of the website. You can see that 157.47.11.59, this is my public IP address. Okay, and the location is also here, like from where exactly I am getting this IP address. So I am using a geo, so I am getting the IP address from the geo service provider, internet service provider, and that is located into Pune. And you can always check your private IP address by using the ipconfig into your Windows machine. So that will show you your private IP address, which is 192.168.225.2, and in the Linux you can check it by using ifconfig, okay, or IP address as well. So 192.168.225.3. Alright guys, so this is about it. We have covered pretty much all the basic stuff about the IP addresses, okay, and their ranges and whatever the private and public IP address ranges. So this is our first tutorial for our networking in Linux series, and in the next tutorial we will be looking into the basic commands or whatever the commands that we usually use to perform some networking task in the Linux system. Alright guys, so I hope you like this video. If you like, please do hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you will not miss the next videos. So I will meet you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and bye bye.